What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Into the Veil, our new stream podcast devoted to Camelot Unchained. If you don't know who I am, my name is Swiper, and joining me on this amazing journey through Camelot is Zalen, Malice, and Bobo. What is going on, guys?
Bobo, you're looking a little,
How's it going?
I don't know, dead there or something.
It's Bobo.
Actually, I thought I would look more live than usually. So
Yeah, I agree with chat. You look like you've got corona, so. If you get corona, this is ultimately what you're gonna look like right there.
Well, thank you guys for being on board today. So since this is our first episode, you're probably wondering what this is all going to be about. Well, in general...
Malice has no idea what this is about. We just told him.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, let me throw it out there. So, in general, Into the Veil, we're going to cover topics regarding Camelot Unchained. This is going to cover like news or any kind of updates or any kind of announcements whatsoever. So before we dive into this topic, I want to give a small disclaimer. We don't represent CU in any way, shape, or form. We don't work for CU, and our opinions are our opinions. And for any reason, if CU or any other game wants to use some of our ideas, go for it. We're not going to sue you. So with all that out of the way, Zalen, if you could bring up the map for me, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
To the map.
To the map.
yeah, let's go.
So if you guys are not following, or if you have been following, you'll be aware of a new RvR map. And this map is going to house all of the three realms, and it's going to be persistent. So it's going to be like unlike any other scenario that we've kind of been a part of. This map is going to be out, say, maybe 3 times a week or 5 times a week. It just depends on what they want to do. We don't know specifically how they're going to structure this, but it's not going to have any type of win or loss condition. We're just going to be able to jump in, basically play a game. Something I felt like we haven't really done in a very, very long time. And it should be pretty cool. So just to go over a couple finer points with this map, as you can see, each realm has their own starting point. And the map itself, to give you guys an idea of how big it is, from left to right, it's about like 5 miles or so. And there is going to be a keep in the center of the map. Now, this keep is going to be something that we can all fight over for. And as you can see, you'll kind of see like some stones with some question marks in there. Those are going to be like plots that we can build on, we can capture, we can siege and do all that, all those good things that we've been kind of seeing with the Cherry Keep and things like that. So 2 towers, as you can see, will be right by where the realm starts, and for each realm, and then we'll have the last tower right by the main keep. So all these towers can be captured, and basically we can use siege and we can destroy everything, kind of like we see in the Cherry Keep as well. So just some quick features. We're going to see lords here, like keep lords, and these guys are going to be the keepers of the plots. So once you kill them, that will essentially transfer ownership. We're also going to have NPCs that are going to help us defend these plots and these towers and things like that. And as time progresses, these NPCs and lords are going to get better. They're going to have better gear. They're going to start using abilities. So it all just depends, when they get this stuff in. So I've said a couple times that we can use siege. We're not going to have the crafters, but we'll be able to purchase siege equipment from, let's say, a vendor or something like that, and then we'll be able to kind of deploy it. So it's going to be a bit different than what it's supposed to be like in the actual game, but we'll at least get to test, the siege engines and things like that. They also brought up Overmind. So Overmind is going to be watching over us, essentially. So whenever we take a plot or a keep, we'll get a message on the screen saying, hey, your realm took this, or your realm lost this. So they'll be testing that as well. And the last item I want to go over is the realm-specific dragons or wyverns. So these things are not going to be apparently used for combat, but they're going to have some kind of purpose, and we don't know what that is yet. So
Yes, Skippy, the Keep Lords are NPCs.
Yes, Keep Lords are NPCs. So overall, I wanted to just get your impression on this map, guys. What do you guys think of this overall? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What's your overall impression?
I'm going to crush everyone's hopes and dreams on this. It looks like Thidranki from Dark Age of Camelot. Literally, it looks like they ripped out the map, jiggled it a bit, and now it is Thid 2.0.
For jiggled?
For jiggled.
For jiggled. What kind of word is that?
Everything I've just from the imagery, it's laid out very similarly. Uses the same kind of rivers to break it up, and overall, like it just feels like it's Thid. And don't get me wrong, Thid was one of the best maps also in Dark Age of Camelot for the battlegrounds. So people would level up whole batches of characters that were just their Thid characters, just to have fun doing Thid. That being said, I kind of like felt kind of unoriginal when I like looked at it. I was like, "Ooh, that, really? You're just gonna repeat Thid?" But it's for testing, so there's nothing wrong with going after something that you are familiar with. But my first impression, otherwise, is I feel that some of the distance for things seems unbalanced. And the relationship to some of the capture points seems unbalanced as well. Like, for instance, it looks like TDD has like this really cool advantage of a tower that's really close to the keep comparative to other people. And they have a node really close to them, so they could use it as a kind of a point to point to be able to travel and assault a little bit more effectively. But obviously that's all just by looking at a map. We'd have to see how it actually plays out in game.
So question, when you say like travel from point to point, are you kind of referencing that like green and purple?
Between let's see here, so right outside their keep, they have a tower, one of these rocks with a question mark on it, and then you have a nice wood line. You can basically move troops pretty concealed through the wood line to their other location, which is like right next to the keep.
Yeah, TDD is going to own. I mean, they're just going to own. I mean, just looking at the map straight up, their tactical advantage to how they are wedged in there is beyond any of the other two realms.
Well, if you look at it, right, they've got two entrances, do they not? They've got behind and then in front, where the other two don't.
What do you mean by
Land bridges?
Exactly.
So wouldn't that be a disadvantage?
I think that wooded area there is going to provide more of an advantage than a wood bridge is going to do for them.
Yeah. Because it's easy to hold a choke point. You can control a choke point a lot easier than you can, say, if the Vikings get it. Well, actually, the Vikings have like a lot of just trying to get to this stupid thing. The Vikings have like a long ass walk. Like, okay, we gotta run halfway up the map to cross the river so that we can run all the way up and basically almost go to the Arthurian base before we get to hook right and actually go towards our objective.
Well, and presumably
neither, castles are particularly useful.
Presumably, if we can, utilize our crafters to then build things on this map to kind of shore up defenses and stuff like that. If you're an Arthurian and you want to try to build anything out of wood, you're screwed. You are absolutely screwed. Vikings, you got a little bit. TDD, I mean, yeah, okay, they're nature people. Most of them are freaking made of wood. Everything is there. It's like, gosh.
Can you kill other TDD to like harvest them for wood?
No.
I think that should be a thing. The Dryads will just be like, all right, I'll respawn, fine.
My first opinion on this map, I loved the shape of it. Now, I don't know if this was just kind of the artistic style that the person did, or if the whole hex design is something that they're going to go with going forward. If you look at games like Settlers and Carcassonne and stuff like that, that hex design plays out because that gives you an extremely modular map. If this is how they're going to do the rest of the game, shifting islands, all that kind of stuff, you've got an incredible amount of variety that a Veilstorm can affect. You've got ways to change the landscape just literally by twisting a tile. I think ultimately this was a fantastic design to do. It brings us back to days of D&D, you know, the paper tabletop games. Everything was hex because it was easy. Everything fits together nicely. There's tons of options. It's all there. I do agree with Malice. The choke points on here are going to be insane. Do we know if they've even put the ability for us to even get into the water? I know for the longest time you got in water, you basically died.
Right.
So
I feel like no. I feel like no. But
so I mean, if that's the case and you're a Viking, I mean, all the Arthurians have to do is basically make a little line up there and you're done. So, but I mean, for not having much wood, the Arthurians have the most direct access to the center keep. Go ahead, Bobo.
The shape of the map might be pretty useful and practical, but it would be quite disappointing if all the islands would have that same shape, because you then lose a lot of unknown factors. I mean, usually when you go explore a land, you don't even know anything about it. So if at first you know the shape of the land, it removes already a good part of the exploration factor and the unknown factor.
But I think if they're going to utilize Veilstorms to ultimately change the landscape and whatnot, why wouldn't you then take these tiles, move them around? That whole idea of shifting islands, if it just becomes a tile that everything's tied to,
Thanks for the follow.
That essentially makes changing the landscape awesome. So if you've got a Veilstorm, you're walking out into completely new and uncharted territory, in theory.
I could see this, and I'm like I said before, I'm not a programmer, but I could see this hexagon working, especially if islands are going to be shifting. So this way, when they connect, you know, they make like maybe a clean connection. I don't know. That's just kind of throwing it out there.
As JB actually jumped in and said, he says, is a byproduct of the engine terrain tech. It's much easier to just make hexes than square pieces of terrain.
Oh, nice.
It gives you a lot. I mean, the amount of variety that's there on a hex piece. Anytime that you've got more edges, your variety is going to be so much larger than even squares and whatnot. And Trev, I like your answer to what happens when you go into water. Your character gets Linuxified.
Damn it.
Does that count?
The one downside of Bobo's thing is that we can't actually see him drinking.
So, Bobo, what's your overall impression of this map?
Yeah, the map does indeed look like Tedranki from Dark Age of Camelot. But I also know that it's not complete from what we see here, because it was also mentioned in the newsletter that accompanied this map that it wasn't complete yet. So it was just an overall a first draft of the map, because we can see that there's not even an even amount of I'll call them like point of interest, those stone with a question mark on it.
The obelisks.
So, yeah, so there's not even an even amount of those items for all the three realms, and we don't. I like the explanation of what Swipper said earlier, but I'm still not sure if it's going to be only like plots to build stuff, or if it's going to be like really like points of interest where there could be maybe places of power, fountains, magic spots, or whatever. So I'm very curious to know what those points can be.
Yeah, so then this is my understanding, guys. The spots with the question marks, I kind of thought those were the plots or the towers that we're going to be able to build on. And there's 7 because each side, each realm has 2 near their keep, and then there should be 1 more that's right outside the keep. So that equates to 7. So if I'm doing my math right, that's what I think. But I think overall they're not
if-
really positioned
If
strategically.
you have 3 realms and 3 towers, it should be 9.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Right.
Trev,
Okay.
since you're
I know
under
math's hard.
NDA, see, Trev knows the answers to some of these questions, but since he's under NDA, he's frustrated right now, which I kind of find is poetic justice with the amount that he trolls everyone. He's just there frustrated and just...
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Swiffer yesterday. I mean, there's some stuff that I would like to talk about also from when I could get some info, but I know I can't, so...
Yeah,
But it's just to keep on talking
I
about...
honestly didn't log in for that specific purpose of not wanting to know that information.
But, I mean, as a general idea, as a place to start, I think it was a good move to go through the hex design. I think that gives them a lot of, again, the countless options. I can't wait to see how they flush out a lot of the little details of potential choke points and stuff like that. But, you know, that was one of the things we liked about Dark Age of Camelot, was all those choke points within the walls. You know, that forced a lot of really, really good RvR. I mean, straight up.
Yeah, but I hope there's going to be much more variety in the choke points. Because basically the one we can see a lot is the one that we, if we build bridges, they're going to be mostly happening on bridges. So it would be fun if there was like natural mile gates, bridges, valley, and different like natural structures, natural points where the choke points are going to be there like naturally.
Well, in theory, you should be able to build your own bridges too.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, eventually. Like once the crafters get into play. But
Yeah.
I think until that happens, we're kind of subjugated to, where they're forcing you to go on this map.
If you think about tactics of this, something that Travell said the last time he was on the MMO grind, when we talked about the physics of building and whatnot, if you build a bridge and people actually have a weight value to them, if you build it to a certain point where you can lure somebody onto a bridge just to have it collapse into water to get them all Linuxified, you've won.
Damn you.
So,
I mean,
what do you guys
Linuxify
see like?
Really, Linuxification. I mean, does that count?
Just arbitrarily saying it.
So, what kind of testing do you guys see them getting out of this? Now we know that we're gonna have siege. We know that we don't necessarily have all the classes in there, and we know we don't have crafters. But what do you see that this map is going to accomplish testing wise when you look at it?
I see it, looking at it, especially from its shape and everything, that I think they're really testing the idea of what our capturable squares are going to be. Because if it's a 5 mile by 5, like all the points are 5 miles from each other, basically, across the map, then that may be the capturable concept in open world. And so they may be testing that idea where how they can do terrain layouts and things like that to make maps interesting and different, yet also separate them out when you're looking at them for the open world map, and seeing how they can, if it's big enough or small enough. If it's big enough and people are like, such a long walk, great. That's kind of where you want to be. You want that map to be big enough. But if it's like, whoop, we're always in combat instantly, then they may think that they need to maybe go to 10 miles for the size of a given hex in the open world for control.
Bobo, you're freaking out Skippy with the whole tongue thing. I think the idea of the map I mean, it's frustrating that it's taken us so long to get to this point in the game. However, this is what we have been asking for. I mean, they're bringing up Keep Lords, they're bringing up a lot of the capture mechanics. Hopefully they'll throw in some builders into there soon so that they can get that stuff in there. But this map is, I mean, it's a huge step forward to what we've been asking for well, years now.
But I really hope that, I'm pretty sure it is, but that the test is not to please the backers, that it's just really there to test stuff to get forward. So
I'm not saying that
just to please backers.
I'm not saying they threw it up just to please backers. I'm just saying that this is exactly what it was we've been asking for, and I mean it's great. I mean it's fantastic.
Backers grabbed pitchforks and torches, and all of a sudden disappeared. You think this is not to please backers?
No, some people that are really like, I mean, we all want to play the game, of course. But I really hope that this test is going to help them like move forward, because since basically all the Linuxification is done, the game engine is mostly done. I'm sure there's going to be like tweakings forever, of course. But I can't wait to see what we're going to be able to test ourselves also in the on this map.
So I'm kind of hoping that what they'll do with this map is they'll start adding in features, maybe like some like the trade routes. Maybe we'll see. Like I really am interested in seeing some of these trade routes, and maybe they can start adding some of like those bounty quests into this map. I mean, I don't know how far they're really going to go with this. You know, I don't know if they're just going to kind of keep it at the state it is, add a couple things here and there, and then just say, all right, we got what we needed. Let's do something else. You know what I mean? But I think this has a lot of potential, you know?
Cool availability for testing. Have blah, blah, blah has a bounty on his head, and he is now on the map, you know. Oh, cool. Let's get it.
I personally hope that this map is nothing like what we see in the actual release. Unlike what Malice was frustrated with SOTOR, where everything in testing was, you know, absolutely nothing like what the game released as. I think if they're testing on this map, we're going to know this map like the back of our hand, the people that actually get in and do a crap ton of the testing, to then go to release. Honestly, I'd love to see something completely different. Now, whether they just change the terrain or rotate a bunch of tiles or however they're going to do that, I think that is what's going to lead to a lot of the longevity for these maps.
But if you happen to know one hex out of 45, does it really matter?
For some people, that was a strange sound. For some people, yes, I will.
I believe the next answer has entered the bathroom. Yeah, I don't want to know. No, but I have a strong feeling that they're probably going to do Battlegrounds similar to Dark Age Camelot, because let's be real, Battlegrounds are always great because they're always instant fun. I don't feel like spending 3 hours playing tonight. I'm going to just go do 30 minutes in THID. And so I'm expecting this map will exist probably in live, but it will be a level 1 through 9.
There you go, JB. This is a temporary scenario map design. Scenarios are specifically for testing and not meant to be part of the released game.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, there you
Excellent.
go.
Excellent.
So, but there are other things that they're going to be able to test on this map is basically the time it takes to reach one point to another point. Because they're going to have to evaluate the time it takes for the travel. So that's one point that's one thing they're really going to be able to test, because it will all be they will base the speed of traveling, the speed buffs. It's all going to be based on that, or the other way around.
Hopefully we'll get to see a lot more terrain changes, how that plays with siege equipment and that kind of stuff. Lots of line of sight. I know that Mark has been really toting the intelligence of his NPCs, so we'll get to see how not dumb as rocks these things actually are. I mean, this should be a lot of fun.
if from Ragnarok, I can shoot an arrow all the way across the map.
You can't hit anything, but you can shoot it across the map.
How far is the siege supposed to fire? And can you stand on the other side of the water and lob siege at that castle?
That was going to be.
I want to know.
That was going to be one of the things I brought up, because if you look at that water, I mean, it obviously we're zoomed out on this map, right? So we don't know exactly how, But if siege can go over that water, then that water is kind of rendered useless, in my opinion. It really is, because how are you going to get the speed with siege?
If siege can shoot over the water, you shoot over, but then how long does it take you to get from where your siege is if you have to run all the way around to get to that keep? If you've got the third realm standing by in some of that forest and you've blown a hole in the wall and you're not there, you've just given them the keep. Otherwise, it splits your forces. You've got some people that are there to protect all of your siege equipment, which is across a lake, and then you've got the other half of your forces hiding somewhere nearby or keeping people fended off. Either way, you're split or you're opening the keep up. So that water strategically placed there could be freaking awesome, and is going to really force people to think about what they're doing, how they're doing stuff with this keep with spicy peppers.
I also think that part of the, I guess, the thing I complained about initially is also a good thing to talk about for testing, is you look at the Arthurian and the TDDs, and they have much more direct routes to that keep. But the Vikings, on the other hand, while they have a longer way around to get there, they also have an open field in the backside to attack that keep. So I think that's where you're going to see some of that testing too, is when you're starting to look at your keep designs and your main sources of where you're going to be placing resources and different things like that. It's like, how are you going to balance that idea of slowing someone through longer movement and having them in an open field combat versus creating choke points, and how players use siege and their classes to achieve those goals, and how those outcomes may affect map design and the greater picture of things.
And one would think that they've got someone on staff that's going to actually be looking at the tactics that all these different groups of testers are doing and going, okay, how is our map affecting these tactics? Is it making it easy? Is it making it difficult? How can we make it more, whatever, which is hopefully part of that testing process.
Oh, yeah. Every testing group that I've seen so far uses heat maps, and the heat maps are just going to track where all the activity is. Where is their combat? Where is their death? Where is their long-term combat? All these types of things are very much tracked through basic data collection, and then they kind of review it and see how that plays out. Also, depending on how many classes and all that type of access we have at this point, they can track whether, how much tanks are effective, or casters are effective, or archers are effective, or things like that as well.
So, kind of sticking with the whole siege idea. Now, my understanding is that we'll probably visit an NPC and we'll probably just get the siege equipment, right? Do you think they should have a limit to how much you can get, like a time limit? This way people aren't just loading up on siege and just being able to place it down and things like that to make it more realistic.
I think it's a weight thing. If you remember in Dark Age of Camelot, you actually had people that had to put a crap ton of points in strength just to be able to carry a lot of these siege equipment. And you had a few paladins that would get out there that would be able to basically carry an entire siege ram. Otherwise, you had to have multiple people carry multiple things, have somebody stand in place, trade all these things to them, and then put it down. Sorry, Boba, you're itching to say something.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I don't think this is going to be something that they're actually going to be testing. The weight that we were able to carry, I think they really want to test the mechanics and all, but not the game mechanics itself.
Right.
Mostly like the.
But I mean, long term, it's probably going to be more of a weight thing.
So far, yeah. So because I know there is still going to be allow some crafting, but like it is in the testing already, where you just like click on a tent and you can make a ballista or something. And I don't think you're going to have problems carrying it, because they really want to test if everything works well on what they accomplished so far.
To answer that question with Crest real quick, Crest, just so you know, as far as I am aware, the last word from CSE is ships, boats, all that stuff from a player standpoint, player controlled, will not exist. Maybe a happy day someday in the future, but they're not intending to do that for launch, so don't expect to be able to do that in this scenario.
Ships themselves will exist. We've got lots of concept art and that kind of stuff, but whether you're able to build them and control them, no.
Yeah, because I don't even think they're going to be testing the balance between classes or realm or whatever. This is not even part of what they want to test so far. So it's really the engine, the stability of the server, the map itself. I mean, if there's a lot of bugs on the map, they can identify to a certain type of pattern they made on the map, they can't be able to fix it. So it's really for the mechanic. Then when all the mechanic stuff is pretty good, pretty decent, then they will be able to start testing something else. But I think this part is going to be only for beta 2.
And
when they're going to start balancing.
Currently, they don't have any crafting per se in the game as far as any of the testing stuff. So no, there's no building of bridges and that kind of stuff that's going to be in this either.
Yeah, and I think like for launch, we're gonna have crafters actually build the siege equipment. So we're not gonna have that either on here as well. So,
so what I think would be actually kind of cool system though is I would like to see it motivates skirmishes as well, which is I would like to see players have to go kill other players, use their soul stones or whatever they want to give them as loot, loot them off of the bodies, bring them back, and cash them in for siege equipment. Yeah. I think that would allow kind of that level of siege play as well as skirmish play.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and there's one thing also about the map. We said that it looked like BGs in Dark Age, but I'm wondering about the size of the map, because from what I heard, it's going to be a whole lot bigger than what we had in Battlegrounds and Dark Age. It's supposed to be a whole lot bigger, I think.
Well, their engine can obviously handle a lot of stuff, so that would make sense.
And if it's too small, I mean, won't be able to test much. So it needs to be a bit bigger, at least twice the size or 3 times the size.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that, Bobo.
And there's also the. Oh, keep going.
No, go ahead. It's all you.
No, that's okay. It's another point, so we're going to finish this point.
No, so I was just going to bring up the point that it's been a while since we've had really something like this. This is something I think a lot of people have wanted for a long time. And when people would ask this question, I kind of would always revert back to, well, they need to do a couple things before they get to this point, like add more classes and get things more ironed out. At this point, do you guys think that introducing this map now at this point in time is the right call, is a good move? Or do you think that it's too soon and they need to put more things out there?
I believe that with the map, they can continuously add to it, and which will constantly evolve this scenario. It is easier to evolve this scenario than to go the other way around, which is create a bunch of pieces and not know how they work. It's easier to take the pieces that already exist, put them in play, and then keep dripping new
adding on top of it.
I think it's absolutely the best time for this map. It creates that foundation to which they can add everything onto. It gets people on. It gets people exploring things. One of the things about the maps that we've currently got is they're so tiny, so you get in, and even if you had all these classes to do, what are you going to do with them? Where are you going to go? Having a map this big. Now, that all assumes that we have a lot of people on to test.
Yep.
But hopefully this will encourage more people to get on, and if we, take advantage of an extremely unfortunate situation like what's going on right now in the world, I mean, this is the perfect time to take advantage of the fact that you've got numbers. Get them in there. Get them doing stuff. So, yeah, I think the timing couldn't have been better for this map.
And more weekend testing, too, for the people that are still working, because there's plenty of us still working, so.
And there's also, from another perspective, I think MJ wouldn't really rush into testing if it wasn't the right time to do it. So, I mean, he's really sticking to his ideas and his plan on, even if we know that it's taking a lot more time than we expected at first, but he's still sticking to what he believes is right. So if he says that it's the right time for testing, then I assume it's right.
He's done this before.
I don't know. I still stand by the fact that there is definitely some cookie thrown here to us that is to make us put the pitchforks and torches away. So,
or use them on keep.
It could be a double-edged sword, because if it's not ready, I mean, he would shoot himself in the foot if it's really not ready and he's just wanting to please us. So.
Yeah, but given that he's been bit by some other things, I don't know that even if it is a cookie, as Malice is saying, I don't know that he's going to put an unbaked cookie out for us to go nom nom on. So,
yeah, we'll see.
So do you guys think Veilstorms are going to make it on this map eventually?
Nope.
No. I'd love it. I would absolutely love it, but I don't think it's going to be there.
No, I think the most that we're going to see towards gameplay as a testing is going to be from the Overmind, because basically Overmind also manages some PvE events or PvE actions, and so I think this is something that we're going to be able to see. I mean, at some time of the day, we could see like NPC doing a patrols. They're going to be different functions for them, and it can be programs that it happens at different times of day or night. So yeah, I think this could be a part that we're going to be able to see. But for the Veilstorms, I don't think so.
But you never know, and this is one of those things that if it is open for a prolonged period of time in testing, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to put in there that they're not going to tell you about, because they want you to go explore. They want you to go find this stuff. They want you to go in and try to break things, because that ultimately helps them. So who knows? I mean, there could be a lot of really strange and weird stuff in there.
I mean, I'll be a giant negative Nancy on this subject, and when it comes, it's
go ahead,
too, man. I need to change my name to Wet Towel, because I'm always the dream crusher. I don't think outside of the grandest concept idea that they even have a clue what they're going to do with the Veilstorm. So to see it in this would be mean that they're leaps and bounds ahead of where I think they are. And they may shock me and amaze me, but I don't think they will. I don't think we will see those, only because no one has actually worked on anything to do with it. Much like I don't think there is one person that has worked on anything to do with raising and lowering or attaching continents. Like these are things that like look really good in a design doc that I'm not sure how they will look like once they hit live.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to see Veilstorms for a while, but you know, had to throw it out there. I love the topic of the Veilstorm. I love everything I read about it. You know, I'm just dying to see it. So,
I think the concept of Veilstorms is the potential is enormous for what they could do. So it'll just be really, really interesting to see what they do with it.
The only thing that I could see that they'd be able to test about the Veilstorm is if we're able to release when we die, and that it could. We know that the Veil is going to be the thing that manages how close or how far you're going to be able to release and get back into battle. So that's probably one thing they could only test is if you die and you release, how far you're releasing. So if the more magic has been cast during the battle, the further away you should be able to release. So, but that's basically the only thing. So there wouldn't be any like visual effects or any game effects, just like distance for releasing and coming back to the battle.
Yeah, I could see that. So I mentioned dragons and or wyverns, and I know they said that they're not specifically going to be used for combat, but what do you guys think these guys could be used for? Because every realm is supposed to have a specific one tied to them.
Oh, I think this is just going to be MJ's way of screwing with people.
Oh, better not, man.
I think he's just going to, it's like, oh, a big battle's going on. All right, release Bubba over there. He's going to come out and just
the Kraken.
Release the Kraken. He's just going to come out and just, you know.
I don't know. I could maybe see it as something that maybe sits like where your realm is. I don't know. Maybe something more visual. I don't know.
To
The only thing I can
main center keep, you got to kill a dragon. I don't know.
That's one hell of a keep lord.
My question is
one hell of a
what
keep.
is the reason for putting them in if they're not going to be related to combat?
Dragons are cool, man.
We're gonna go Ollie Raygun on them, and you'll be able to ride them.
People with.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because he brought it up. It was one of their points in their monthly update, and he gave a squad on it, and I've been thinking about it ever since. So just trying.
No, I'm with you, and that's why I'm like, why would you do this without combat? Because to me, it seems like there should be a level of upgrade to whatever you've built.
Mm-hmm.
So this is because, and maybe it's because I'm tainted by preconceptions of previous games, but like I look at how like Dark Age of Camelot worked. All right, it's a tier 2 keep. Oh, it's a tier 3 keep. It's a and you.
Oh my gosh, there's a dragon!
Right. See, now that would be really cool though. Tier 5 keep, whatever. It has a dragon lord instead of a. I think Bobo's having.
I'm not doing anything.
He's touching out.
Ooh, out. Roof.
I was following your ends.
This is how stupid you look, Malice.
Like, what is he doing over there?
And completely derailed. Bobo, you get the star tonight.
Your success derailed me. Move on.
I mean, it would be great if you upgrade a keep to a certain amount. The keep becomes valuable. Maybe you're inlaying the keep with gold and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. Dragons like to protect whatever it is that they find valuable. So if a keep gets to a certain level, it is a valuable commodity. So why wouldn't a dragon come and just mine?
Except they're taken from everybody at that point.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, come on. It's there.
Because dragons aren't good at going, mine, oh, and yours. You can share with me. No, they're just mine.
We're just really there to defend the dragon. That's all it is.
So we're working for you now, boss, huh? Yeah. All right. Kill those guys? Yeah, all right.
Is that perch that Trev built for you sturdy enough to under your weight there? No? Go eat him. He made it.
His fault. We'll build you better. We swear. Honestly, that's definitely an aspect of the game on a bigger picture that I really am interested in as well as the continuous upgrade of keeps. What type of system are we looking at? Like, because obviously it's going to be cheaper to build a wood wall than it is a stone wall and a granite wall instead of a basic stone wall, or a Shalcom wall instead of a marble wall, or like all kinds of things as you continue to upgrade into craziness. Where does that place the bigger picture? Does that upgrade your lords? Oh, and CSE, just put this out there. Was so much of a fun idea in Dark Age of Camelot when you could craft weapons and armor and give them to lords. That was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that could be nice.
I made an indestructible lord. We sat there and watched a whole entire raid die on a lord because we gave him 100% crafted gear. Stuff that would made thousands and thousands and thousands of gold in game. We just like bloop and just watched people just bounce off the thing.
That would be pretty awesome. That would be awesome if they put that in this game.
There's also maybe one thing that they could test partially is the stabilizers. I mean, even if we cannot connect to any other island, the mechanic of placing it could be tested. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could.
I think
Depending
they're
on
still,
how
they're
they
still in the
intend to make
process
it
of
work.
testing the engine of having a crap ton of entities in there doing things. I think that's still what the testing is centering around.
Yeah, mostly, but like we're mostly like theorizing. So it's something that they could partially test if they wanted to. I don't think it's going to go that far. But
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're still testing Linuxification and seeing how that works out.
So,
but I'm not throw it out there just to say that. Unfortunately, it's an issue that I've just had with CSE testing in general, is that I feel that every test is still at its core just testing its engine. And where are we with the engine at this point? Because I would like to move past that, and I would like to see us actually testing character classes and races and special abilities and having all of the other stuff in there, and that be the focus. I really think we're kind of done with the engine, or we should be.
If you look at MJ's, if you look at MJ's email he sent out today, one of the things that the tech is working on, and I'm just going to read it here. Tech, lots of things including Linux performance work, nav mesh work, threading, etc. They're still doing it.
Right, and I hate to say it sounds like a broken record, but all right, we're 7 years in. You don't have your engine done. These are the things that make me nervous about the evolution of this game. And when our release date is going to happen is because, okay, if this is basically still further engine testing and seeing how that engine plays out with, yes, Bobo, yes.
I bless you. I bless you.
Talk to your hands. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I just feel like we should already be there. We should already be looking at the detailed experiences of character classes, not how the NPC meshing is going to be working to make sure that they track properly and all that stuff. I mean, it just seems like something you could almost pluck from any other engine at this point and slam into your as an add-on into the existing engine.
It's possible.
I haven't seen,
but it's also possible that we already are there, and what they're doing is trying to squeeze every ounce of whatever it is out of whatever it is specifically they're trying to test. Because you look at all these games that do that and just pluck it out of another engine, upon release, there's always problems.
Yeah.
So what if...
Sorry,
7 years, bro. 7 years.
What if?
If you haven't figured this out in 7 years.
And I think when I hear that word, 7 years, when I hear that phrase, I get it, I do. But they were developing and they had to go through, they called it rehabilitation. So that kind of set them back long, long ways. It's almost like they've restarted in a sense. So
no, don't say that.
Right. Additionally terrifying.
But like I already said, I'm not going to make any friends on that, but earlier, 7 years ago, I backed a project, not a deadline. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting that it would be done in 2 years. That was almost impossible. Dark Age took 2 years. And what they intend to do is 10 times bigger. So,
no. And
it could bring us to 20 years, to 2 years times 10. No, I'm kidding.
I love the way you said that. Backing a project, not a deadline.
From looking at every other game deadline ever, games start to fail as soon as they exceed the 5 or 6 year line, because their tech, they either have to again step backwards because they have to reinvent their tech for modern era again, or they push out an inferior product because it's now 7 years later and that idea was great 7 years ago. It's Shadowbane did the same thing. They delayed. By the time they put it out, it looked like a 2-year-old product on release and played like a 2-year-old product. And it eventually was the curse and the downfall of that game. You look at Star Citizen. Star Citizen follows into almost the exact same classification as CU, where you end up with this idea that as you move forward, they had to redesign their whole entire tech to make it relevant again, because they wanted to be the cutting edge of the cutting edge, and then that wasn't a cutting edge anymore, so they had to redesign it. And that's my fear in these. When I say 7 years, I don't say it casually because, I'm angry because it's just a 7-year number. It's because we're talking about an epic level of redesign at that point. You're talking about trying to catch up. We are in such technological screaming forward that every 5 years is a drastic jump in technology. Yeah, yes, Bobo. he loves me in my hands. He's like, hey, Macarena. Yep. All right.
Wow.
But and that's. By the way, this is the rant, not the previous thing.
Dude, you got to save these things for your video, man.
Yeah, man. We got a whole channel for that, man.
Fair enough. But I'll do
it anyway.
I'll just leave it at this, though. 7 years is actually a meaningful thing, and I would like to see us moving forward, and I don't feel we're moving forward.
I think that's a fair point. I do. I can't really argue that.
You don't feel like
fair.
this map was a decent move forward?
And that's what I wanted to bring up. I mean, this map is, like you said, Zaylen, this is something that we've been wanting for a long time, and now we have it.
Malice doesn't think it's a move forward. He thinks it's just a cookie.
Well, I can see both perspectives, right? We have this map, but we don't have everything in the game that can test every little thing. You know what I mean? We have this map and we can test certain things, but not everything. So in my opinion, it's a step forward. It's not 2 steps forward, but it's a step forward. And that's kind of why, I asked the question, do you guys think it's a good time for this map to be out there? Or do you think they should be a little bit more advanced before they put a map out here? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they have to move forward, and how they're going to do that is through testing. Somehow.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yes.
So
would we have liked to have seen this map earlier? Of course. I don't know anybody who wouldn't say yes on that. Is it still good that they've released it now? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would honestly say the biggest crime, honestly, is the label this as a beta.
Yes. It's still an alpha.
This is, when you're working on the engine, it's an alpha, period. Don't care what company, anything you are, that is called an alpha.
So basically, kind of sticking with the map, with what we see here and what we see now, is there anything that you guys would want to change? Like structurally, like where towers are and things like that?
It's hard because what's live right now isn't even this map.
Well, we're looking at a photo, Photoshop drawing,
So, but I mean, if we're strictly talking about this map, yes, I think some of the layouts should be changed a little bit, but then, I mean, you would really need to talk to the person who ultimately designed it. Like, why were these things placed this way? There might be stuff there that we just don't know.
The intent of testing, of the idea of, do choke points matter more? Do open field matter more? How does players overcome those things?
And they could be testing it specifically this way with an advantage for one realm over the others, just to see what would happen and how they can deal with that. I mean, that could be the purpose of this. So what would we change with the map? I don't know that we can really answer that question without getting in and actually, blowing the place up.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Okay. All right.
I was just like,
How you doing, Bobo?
I love this skin on Bobo. It is so random.
It really is.
So yeah, I mean, I think overall, in my opinion, just I like this map. Like I said, I think they're moving forward. I think this is going to be good for overall for testing siege and testing towers and destruction. We're also going to be able to repair buildings. So I think this is going to give us a pretty decent look at where the game is right now, and obviously where they need to go.
Yes.
But other than that, I'm just really happy because I don't know how much we can talk about scenarios. Probably not too much, but it's getting a little sick of the scenarios when I could actually have time to test. And I've just been really excited to try and get in this map and spend some time in it. So overall, I'm pretty happy with everything when it comes to this map.
I mean, yeah, just from a testing cycle aspect, the fact that they can leave it up for several days and let people go ham at it, I
Yeah.
think is, you cannot diminish the value of that, especially just to get warm bodies in the field. Because let's be real, it's the biggest problem with all of their testing right now is it's almost exclusively daytime and it's on weekdays. Well, okay, well, it's hard to get a lot of bodies doing that.
Best segue ever. There is a weekend test. It is Sunday. They want 1,000 to 2,000 people on Ragnarok. It is an engine test. They want you to lose. The point of this is to actually test the queuing system and getting people through as fast as humanly possible. Get in, get on. It's on Sunday. They're not doing any more announcements on it. If you missed the email today, you need to go in there, back into your email and check it out. If you're a backer, if you're not a backer and you don't have the email, tough. There is a new email list specifically for Ragnarok. So make sure that you're on that. That was in the email today. Again, if you're a backer, you should have seen this email. If not, get on the forums and yell at somebody, and they will get you the information that you need. In fact, it's probably even on the forums, but it's a 2-hour window. They want you to get on and lose as many matches as possible. Why would you want to do this? Well, I'm so glad that you asked, Malice. If you can lose 20 matches in 2 hours, you will be getting credits toward game time of Camelot Unchained and or other things that you may want to buy in Camelot Unchained. So, those are MJ's words without spoiling anything in the game. Get on, get in, test. They just want you to queue, lose as fast as possible. We've got people that are streaming and playing other things that are just literally going to log in and click play and then sit there and lose. That's what they want. That's what they need. So get in there, help them out. You're all stuck at home anyway. Do it.
Do it.
What time range is the test?
Was
2
it like 2 o'clock?
Eastern.
Yeah. 2 o'clock Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern. They want at least 20 matches. They said it will only take a few minutes. So.
Yeah, and I think only 2 people are going to be per match, so that goes pretty quickly if you've ever played.
And then another juicy thing. So right now, Ragnarok is limited to 2 people. MJ has stated, I'm just reading this here, if we can get more than 3,000 backers helping them out, they will increase it to a 6-person team from 2-person. 2-person's a little rough. Malice and I got in there. If they increase it, yeah, you can probably go for a while, and this would be better. So please.
We did save a tower or 2.
We did. It was exciting.
It was really hard. 2 of us, that's a little rough.
It is difficult, man. I jumped in there with only 1 other person, and I got destroyed. I got destroyed. So.
Oh yeah.
So please get in there, do the testing, check your email. It has all of the details on it, when, where, how to get in. It has the link to the new email list on everything that is Ragnarok, as well as some other tidbits that will interest people who are doing the testing. It's all in the email. You need to go read it to check it out. And again, the information might also be on the forums. I can't imagine why it wouldn't be. But
awesome, guys. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. I think we kind of covered everything that I kind of wanted to go over. So I appreciate you all coming up, showing up. So thank you so much. I would like to kind of do this every month. Not sure if it's going to be once or twice, but I will let everybody know. But again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
This was fun.
Hey,
Thanks
no
for hosting,
problem.
Swipper.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us, man.
You got
Bye,
it.
everyone.
Thank you.